Funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Thursday, September 30th. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. It was 2.5 years ago that John T. Ernest burst into a Poway Synagogue and opened fire. Minutes later, a woman was dead and 3 others were injured. Today, the 22-year-old was sentenced to spend the rest of his life in prison. KPBS reporter John Carroll was in court as victims told Ernest how his actions that day changed their lives forever.
Do whatever you need to do, okay?
2.5 years later, and Hannah Kay, whose mother, Lori Gilbert Kay, was murdered by John Ernest, struggled to even begin her statement. But once Kay regained her composure, her message to the man who killed her mother was painful, eloquent, gut-wrenching.
My mother's voice is loud, steady, and clear in my heart. And because she cannot tell the world what she experienced the day she was murdered for being a Jew, I will do so for her. The voice of my mother is reclaimed within my own. John Ernest, your bullets will not wreck through my body today as they did my mother's. She is here. She is alive within my words.
It was April 27th, 2019. 54 people were inside the Chabad of Poway for a Sabbath service when Ernest drove up armed with an assault rifle. Once he was inside, he opened fire. Lori Gilbert Kay died where she fell in the entrance hall. The synagogue's founding rabbi, along with an 8-year-old girl and her uncle, were all injured. One of the worshipers was an off-duty Border Patrol agent who fired back at Ernest. He and another man rushed to stop him, but by that time his gun had jammed. They chased him out of the synagogue. Ernest sped off, but minutes later he called police, told him what he'd just done, and waited for them to arrest him.
In our 32 years of marriage, she never gave me a bad word.
Dr. Howard Kay spoke of what a wonderful person his wife was, how she focused tirelessly on helping others.
Even after her death, we would get thank you notes, kept coming in, because what Lori used to do is she used to give checks to people to give to charities when she traveled.
Lori Gilbert Kay's sister, Randy Grossman, noted the presence of good next to evil in the courtroom, as she described in her way what happened that April day of 2019.
This monster hunted down and murdered my sister, Lori, wounding 3 others, including a little girl. And why? Why? What did they ever do to him? He hated Jews, so he decided to kill Jews.
Today brings to a close a 2.5-year-long legal journey for John Ernest and the beginning of a life in prison. For the families, a day of justice rendered that may or may not do anything to ease their unimaginable pain. From downtown, John Carroll, KPBS News.
The investigation is now complete into a disturbing video captured at Valhalla High School last month. The video that went viral on social media appeared to show a white campus supervisor taking his knee to the neck of a black student he was trying to restrain. KPBS education reporter MG Perez tells us the final report makes clear what happened on campus and who is responsible.
As a district, we own what's in this report.
Teresa Kemper is the Grossmont Union High School District Superintendent, taking responsibility for what happened here on the campus of Valhalla High School just a month ago. August 31st, students with cell phones caught a fight that started in the outdoor lunch area between 2 black female students. The video went viral on social media and appears to show a white campus supervisor trying to break up the fight that eventually led him to throw one of the girls to the ground and put his knee to her neck to restrain her.
So my message to the student is this: I'm sorry. This should not have happened.
The superintendent's video comments are in response to the release of an independent investigation conducted by a Los Angeles law firm with no affiliation to the district. In the final report, investigators do not list names of those involved, instead saying, both Student B and Student A are 14-year-old ninth grade female students, while Employee A is 51 years of age, at least 208 pounds, standing 5'11".
The employee who initially broke up the fight did violate our district's existing restraint policy. The violation was, in part, due to a deficiency in our otherwise robust campus supervisor training.
The report states, at 10 seconds, Employee A can then be seen placing his left knee on the right side of Student B's neck, pushing the left side of her face into the ground. His left hand appears to also push down on the right side of Student B's face. For the next 2 to 4 seconds, Employee A's left knee remains on Student B's neck. However, he quickly lifted his left hand from her face. That aligns with what many students reported witnessing that day.
He was trying to separate them, but, they ended up on the ground and he was on top of one of them. I mean, I get you have to break up a fight, but it seemed a little violent. Like maybe more staff could have been called in. The
report recommends more staff training and that Employee A be removed from the school. He has been. The lead investigator goes on to say, there is no evidence to suggest that Employee A's actions were based on race. However, it is my opinion, based upon the number of incidents involving race between 2019 and the present, that Valhalla High School students need to receive some form of cultural sensitivity training.
Superintendent Kemper says that cultural sensitivity training has already begun on campus. The district will not say where Employee A has been transferred or comment any more on the status of the female student. MG Perez, KPBS News.
It's being called a landmark bill on police accountability. Governor Newsom today signing SB 2, which ends absolute immunity for officers who engage in malicious prosecution, injure or kill people in custody, or intentionally deny medical care to inmates. It also creates a statewide decertification system to prevent officers who have been charged with serious misconduct, like excessive force, sexual misconduct, dishonesty, from simply relocating to another community. California's eviction ban expires today, and that leaves more than 700,000 households across the state that are behind on rent vulnerable. More vulnerable than they have been in at least a year. Race and equity reporter Christina Kim has the details on what protections remain in place for San Diego renters and landlords.
California's eviction moratorium largely prohibited landlords from evicting tenants for not paying rent. Now it has come to an end. Beginning tomorrow, landlords will be able to start eviction proceedings if a tenant hasn't paid the rent. But some protections and programs remain in place for vulnerable San Diegans. So says Gilberto Vera, senior housing attorney with the Legal Aid Society of San Diego.
The protections remaining are to prevent non-payment of rent evictions, but they require that a tenant have an application, at the very least pending for rental assistance, to prevent an eviction from proceeding in court.
Before evicting tenants, landlords will have to prove that they applied for rental assistance and that the tenant either didn't finish the application or doesn't qualify for assistance. These remaining protections extend until March 2022, but renters can't get them if no funds are available, says Vera.
Tenants who live in jurisdictions with no rental assistance would not have the protections during the COVID recovery period.
In San Diego County, there are 3 different emergency rental assistance programs that tenants and landlords can apply for. One for San Diego City residents, one for Chula Vista residents, and a county-wide program that serves cities from El Cajon to Encinitas. As of mid-September, San Diego City has $13 million remaining out of the original $170 million. Chula Vista has $10 million left out of nearly $32 million over 2 rounds of funding. And the county has an estimated $100 million left out of its $210 million fund. India Shah attended an event in Logan Heights to check in on the status of her application. She received full rent for the next 3 months.
It has really lightened my load for these next 3 months, because then I could focus on other things that I need to take care of. And if it wasn't for God opening up this program, a lot of us, we would really probably be out there on the streets.
Also starting tomorrow, SDG&E can turn off power in households that are behind on utility bills. Anyone that's behind 60 days or more on their bills is automatically signed up for a debt relief program. And the state does have programs that offer lower rates for low-income families. Cristina Kim, KPBS News.
And as we mentioned, emergency rental and utility relief funds are still available. You can find out more and apply at the websites that you can see on your screen. Again, there are separate programs for residents in the cities of San Diego and Chula Vista, as well as San Diego County residents. With just hours left, lawmakers have passed a stopgap funding bill to avoid a government shutdown. But the president's infrastructure plan and other priorities hang in the balance. Here's Chris Nguyen on the latest deadline developments.
With a few swipes of a pen, a government shutdown has been averted.
With this continuing resolution, we not only keep government open, keep checks flowing to our veterans and Social Security recipients and the rest.
Hours away from the midnight deadline, Congress has passed a stopgap bill to keep the government open, funding federal agencies through December 3rd, with Republicans on board in the Senate.
On government funding, what Republicans laid out all along was a clean, continuing resolution without the poison pill of a debt limit increase.
It's just a remarkable thing to think of all the things that we can do working together for the people.
As the clock ticks, President Biden's larger and more ambitious domestic agenda remains in limbo. The Democratic-controlled House remains divided, with moderates and progressives in a standoff.
I'm voting no.
Despite this, Speaker Pelosi is standing firm, saying she'll hold a vote on the separate bipartisan infrastructure bill today.
I do not plan on not doing anything. I plan on moving forward in a positive way.
Two moderate senators, Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, holding the key to passage, with Manchin now saying he told President Biden he would agree to a $1.5 trillion deal, far below the $3.5 trillion proposed.
My top line has been 1.5 because I believe in my heart that what we can do and what the needs we have right now.
In Washington, Chris Nguyen, KPBS News.
The fight over California's school mask mandate went to court in Vista today. KPBS North County reporter Tanya Thorne was in the courtroom.
The mask mandate in schools remains in place. Judge Cynthia Freeland denied the request for a restraining order on student mask mandates.
Here we are, September 30th. School has started. Kids have been in school with masks, and the protocols have been in place. And so I'm not seeing an emergency today that would warrant issuing a temporary restraining order.
The lawsuit was filed against the state and Governor Gavin Newsom by Let Them Breathe and reopen California schools. The groups claim masking, testing, and quarantine protocols in schools are not supported by science and are doing more harm than good. Sharon McKeeman is the founder of Let Them Breathe.
We knew that it might be difficult to get that emergency temporary restraining order, but obviously our kids are suffering behind these masks. We want this to happen as quickly as possible, but I am thankful that we are going to be having that full hearing at the start of November.
A full hearing is scheduled for November 8th. Judge Freeland says this extension will allow both parties to review and submit their supporting arguments. Arguments that she noted have been extensive in length, the state submitting a 1,600-page report and Let Them Breathe using various links and articles.
This is not something that anyone should approach lightly, and I want everyone to have sufficient time to be able to provide all of the necessary information, as this is a significant issue.
The governor's office says it's pleased with the ruling. In a written statement, it said its guidance is firmly grounded in science and noted recent studies confirm that schools with universal masking requirements are much less likely to experience outbreaks, confirming that masking is a critical strategy to keep students safe and schools open. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
The clock is ticking down for a deal to be reached between Kaiser Permanente and tens of thousands of healthcare workers in Southern California. The current contract with the United Nurses Associations of California and Union of Healthcare Professionals expires at midnight. Negotiations stalled after Kaiser proposed a 1% raise and cuts to future employee wages. The union says if a deal is not reached, their roughly 24,000 members will move forward with a strike vote, which could take a week or more.
We don't want to strike. The nurses don't want to strike. We want to be in there taking care of these patients, all our patients, and that's where our heart is.
If a strike is called, we believe the blame will rest squarely on Kaiser Permanente due to their extreme approach to bargaining.
Our media partner KGTV reached out to Kaiser, which sent a statement saying in part, quote, "We have been bargaining in good faith with the Alliance of Healthcare Unions to reach fair and equitable agreements that provide our employees with excellent market competitive wages and benefits, and we are optimistic that we will reach an agreement before a potential strike would begin," end quote. And today, a statewide mandate for healthcare workers to be vaccinated or lose their jobs goes into effect. At Scripps Health, just about 140 workers, or less than 1% of the workforce, are not vaccinated or have approved exemptions. A spokesperson for Sharp Healthcare says 3% of the workforce, or 539 employees, are unvaccinated and without exemptions. The state may allow some hospitals to delay implementing the mandate because of staffing shortages. The city of Encinitas and the San Dieguito Water District are offering their employees a big incentive to get the COVID-19 vaccine. It's $2,500 for frontline workers and $2,000 for other employees. Encinitas Mayor Catherine Blakespear says this incentive is also to recognize the staff's hard work over the pandemic.
We had to keep essential workers working in order to have our workforce function as a city. And so we also recognize the value of that work. We also want our public employees to be protecting the public's health. So we want our employees to be vaccinated.
Employees must submit proof of vaccination by October 7th to be eligible for the wellness incentive, which will be paid as lump sum direct deposits. An urgent call to pregnant women from the CDC. Get vaccinated now. Mandy Gaither has a look at what prompted this renewed recommendation.
A warning to pregnant women.
You could protect yourself, your pregnancy, and your fetus by getting vaccinated.
The renewed urgency comes as the CDC says only 31% of pregnant people have been fully vaccinated against COVID-19. In a health alert, the agency added that as of September 27th, there have been more than 125,000 confirmed COVID-19 cases in people who are pregnant, including 22,000 hospitalized and more than 160 deaths. 22 died in August alone, the agency said. The warning extends to those who have recently given birth, those trying or planning to become pregnant, and those who are breastfeeding.
What we don't want to do is see women who, for some reason or other, are hesitant to get vaccinated when they're pregnant or wanting to get pregnant, and then have a negative impact on their pregnancy.
The risk isn't only to the mother. The CDC says COVID-19 in pregnancy can cause preterm birth or babies born so sick they have to go straight to the neonatal intensive care unit. The agency also says other adverse pregnancy outcomes such as stillbirth have been reported and stresses the safety of the vaccine.
We now have data that demonstrates that vaccines in whatever time in pregnancy or lactating that they're given are actually safe and effective and have no adverse events to mom or to baby.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
We've redesigned our website, kpbs.org. It looks a little different, but you can still find the latest on the pandemic and resources in the Tracking COVID-19 section. You'll find it under the News tab on our homepage. By now, you've probably seen the giant sequoias wrapped in aluminum foil to protect them from the raging wildfires in Northern California. The company that makes that foil is located in San Diego's North County. KPBS reporter Alexander Nguyen has the details.
We wrap the foil very similar to when you wrap a baked potato.
When the General Sherman was threatened by the KNP complex fire in Northern California, the Forest Service knew exactly what to do. It rolled out some giant aluminum foil to wrap the base of the tree to protect it from the flames. The Forest Service has been using these foils for the past 25 years or so. Stan Hill is the Deputy Forest Management Officer.
The idea behind the foil is to protect structures and sometimes trees, other things, in places that we where a fire is going to impact it, and it might not necessarily be safe to leave people and resources at that location.
The foil is made by FireZ, which is headquartered in Del Mar, but the company's warehouse is in Denver, Colorado. That's because it's a centralized location to quickly move the product to where they're needed in the fire-prone western U.S. The foil comes in rolls of 200 feet by 500 feet wide.
This isn't your typical kitchen foil. It's backed by carbon fiber and Kevlar, and it works like a sunshade, radiating heat away from the structure you're trying to protect.
CEO Dan Herning says wood combusts at around 500 degrees, but the foil keeps structures well below that.
We've done laboratory tests on it, exposed to 1200 degrees of heat for 10 minutes, and the temperature behind the wrap only got up to 212 degrees. After 20 minutes, the temperature only got up to about 248 degrees, and that's far below the 500 degree, which is what we really want to protect from.
While most of Herning's customers are government agencies, such as the Forest Service, he is starting to see more and more residential customers, mainly those with remote cabins and summer homes.
For residential customers, Herning says his foil works best in rural areas such as this. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
Hey there, meteorologist Chris Nallen with you. We're talking the headlines for Southern California in and around San Diego. We're going to see warming temperatures into the weekend. Already talking about warm weather, but we'll be into the middle 80s for Saturday and Sunday. Then we're watching a possible pattern change into next week. Could we be seeing some showers? It is possible, as we see another upper level low continue to spin and move our way. But we'll have to watch as the chances tend to get a little bit closer into time. But we'll know that there is that chance for at least a little bit of wet weather as we head into next week. So that is always good news for California, but we're dry now. We're continuing to be very dry. You can see even some of those hues of orange popping up right around San Diego. So bone dry air here, lots of blue skies, clear skies into the night. And it's kind of what we're talking about in the near future, too. But as we're watching quiet weather for Southern California, we're keeping an eye on the active zone that continues to be for parts of, say, New Mexico, with ongoing rain even to eastern Arizona. Some showers continue. So if your travels take you from San Diego to, say, Albuquerque, there actually could be some flight delays or some travel disruptions in the near future. So tonight, quiet weather around the metro. We're in the mid-60s under mainly clear skies. And as we take you into tonight's forecast around the area, we'll be in the low 50s there around Mount Laguna, Oceanside at 53, replaced by lots of sunshine and warm temperatures inland near the water. Great day to be near the beach, as it will be right around 80 degrees. But sunny and dry weather prevail here throughout the Southwest as we head into your Friday. Let's take a look at your coastal forecast there. Low 80s to the mid 80s by Sunday, and then turning cooler Tuesday with possible thunderstorms inland. As you can see, those numbers start to drop as we head into next week with the possibility of rain. Come Tuesday into Wednesday, is around the mountains, we'll be in the mid 60s, cool with some sunshine, very pleasant weather, and looking good here for the desert. If you like the heat, we'll be in the low 90s. Reporting for KPBS, I'm Chris Nallen.
Facebook is back in the hot seat. Congress pushing the social media giant on claims that they exploit children's mental health for financial gain. Daryl Forges has a recap from the hearing.
Facebook grilled by lawmakers again on Capitol Hill. A Senate subcommittee held a hearing focused on social media and children's mental health.
Facebook has shown us, once again, that it is incapable of holding itself accountable.
With documents provided by a whistleblower, extensive reporting and research, lawmakers say they now have insight on Facebook's campaign to recruit and exploit young users.
Facebook has concealed research, studies, experts that show the harm that has been caused to children on its site, how it knew about that harm.
According to documents and surveys not released to the public, over 1/3 of teens felt they have a little control or no control at all over how Instagram makes them feel. Lawmakers say there is a teenage mental health crisis in the U.S.
The research showed that many teens say that Instagram is helping them with hard issues that are so common to being a teen.
The social media giant says it has teams focused on protecting kids online.
We've built AI to identify suicide content on our platform and rapidly respond with resources. We've launched tools to help control time spent on our apps.
Some lawmakers want more action and believe the company cherry-picked parts of its own research to fit its own narrative.
We do not trust you with influencing our children.
I'm Daryl Forges reporting.
Sharp Healthcare is breaking ground on a new innovation center in Kearney Mesa that officials say will benefit the entire region. The 70,000 square foot facility is set to be completed in about a year and a half and will serve as a hub for future projects and medical advancements at Sharp. Physicians will be able to use the facilities and welcome experts from across the country to collaborate.
Look at all the work that we do to educate, develop, and advance our clinical skills within Sharp, and recognizing that we have a very dispersed geography throughout all of San Diego, and to have a need where we can bring that all together into one place.
Officials are calling the Prebys Innovation and Education Center project one of the most important in the company's history. It will have a simulation center and a technology lab for research and demonstrations. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley. And by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.